where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Poleski dives on the right side, very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys, Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Poleski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vito Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will clip the grass. Oh, a 180, no, a 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernald. Gernald will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
In 1978, the British Grand Prix was held at Brands Hatch, where Ronnie Peterson brought his Lotus 79 home in first place and gave Colin Chapman and his British team a win on home soil. So we know the car can get the job done here, but which driver can join Peterson on the list of winners at Brands Hatch today? It's time to find out with round 7 of a Classic Team Championship live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hello everyone, I'm Samuel Ryman and alongside me in the booth is Joe Peak. Behind the scenes doing all of the button pushing is Andretti Yarmin and he's using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. Joe, Silverstone may have played host to the inaugural Formula 1 World Championship race, but that circuit has been modernised over the years. To me, this Brands Hatch circuit definitely still, as far as British tracks go, has that classic feel to it.
Yeah, classic is the perfect way to describe this course. It's been changed very little since back when Peterson took his car to victory. Other than a few profile changes on a couple of the 9 corners and some runoff, it's the same layout. But that means you're looking at a narrow and fast 2.3 miles around here. There's lots of blind apexes and challenging braking zones that are still tough even in modern machinery, let alone the Lotus 79. I would say it's a shame it hasn't seen Formula 1 since the 80s, but that's part of what allowed it to retain its old school feel. Since it's mostly seen lower formula and open wheelers and touring cars and sports cars, the safety measures haven't needed to be as drastic. The big stories today are probably going to be the lack of chances to overtake and a fair bit of attrition. So that you can really get a sense of all these qualities I'm talking about, it's best if we hop on board with the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Juha Norlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Brands Hatch. Coming up to Paddock Hill Bend, expect to see a lot of errors into this blind corner. It's tough to brake steady and hit the apex while maximizing your speed. The car compresses at the bottom, and then you're quickly braking for druids. This is where many passes are likely to happen, but the braking zone is short, so it'll be very tough. Off the corner, switch sides for Graham Hill Bend. You can use plenty of the runoff, but try not to let the car go too wide because there are dangers in clipping the grass. Then comes Surtees, which is deceptively hard with its late apex. Preventing wheel spin off the corner is not just about keeping the car safe, but also about giving yourself a good run up through Pilgrim's Drop. It's not ideal to have to go too wide through Hawthorne because of how little you slow the car into this terrifying sweeper. Now we're on to the back half of the course. Westfield requires you to barely clip the apex, and once again, try not to drift too far outside onto the runoff. Swing it through Dingledale and then set the car up for Sheen. The apex is almost impossible to see until you're right on top of it. Then you've got Sterling, where the banking really rewards those who carry the momentum right down to the bottom. Finally, you get a short breather on the run to clear ways. This can sometimes offer a chance to pass, but the crest coming into Clark usually causes awkward understeer. As you make the run to the line, hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Brands Hatch.
So a rather short lap and not a whole lot of turns, but definitely a lot of challenges for these drivers. Which drivers? These drivers. Let's take a look at them in our championship standings. And here you see, as we hit the halfway point of the season, Gurno features at the top of the standings. Now let's explain those teardrops at the top of the screen. 2 of them are highlighted. There's 4 in total. That means when the season comes to close, 4 drop weeks will be taken into effect. Since we're halfway through the season, it kind of makes sense that we simulate that 2 drop weeks are currently being taken into effect. So when you take every driver's 2 worst results out there, you can see Gurno features kind of handy points lead over Matt Wood still. Nicola Cochi very close, definitely in this fight. Back there, Adam Fraser sitting in 4th place, and boy, George Lambert jumping up a bunch of positions there. And then you see he hasn't been dropping any points yet, so every result he gets is going to count and boost him up. And a lot of points on the line here today, by the way. We'll get to that in just a moment. Let's go over to Team Championship. We've got a nice 3-way fight going on throughout the season. Naturally, let's turn that into a 4-way fight, because we actually have a tie at the top of standings right now between Brabham and Lotus. Ferrari dropped from the top of the standings all the way down to 3rd. Oh, that's horrible. That's tragic. Where Ferrari got... Oh, no, wait. They're only 2 points back. Okay, I think I'll be alright then. And there you see Ligier, 4th position down there. They're only 7 points back as well. So definitely still in this fight. And Waterwolf Racing rounding out the top 5.
Yep, and you talk about very few corners. Well, there's going to be a lot of laps because of how short the lap is around here today. We are in round 7 out of those 12 weeks that you mentioned, and 37 laps around here. So these are going to tick off pretty quickly. Now, just like Formula One back in the late 70s, there is no pit stop for fuel, and the setup of the cars is open. That can make a lot of a difference on where you can find speed with these cars. They have an incident cap in this series. That means that they'll be disqualified if they have enough off tracks or contacts with other cars or the walls. And they have no spare car waiting for them today out here, Sam. So they've got to be really careful about what kind of damage they put on the car, because they can't just duck in and get a new one. And looking at qualifying right now, a familiar face up at the top.
Yeah, we're seeing Juha Noalampi up there, as well as George Lambert, the driver who jumped up several positions during the last round's event. Now we're riding on board Sam Doby, a name we're familiar with, but I've got to confess, I don't think we've seen him a lot recently. But it's nice seeing him there, currently in the top 10 in qualifying and about to complete his 2nd lap and go... slower. No, faster. 7th place.
Nice little jump up 3 spots for him. Very few drivers actually left needing to get that 2nd lap in because of how short the lap times are around here. Just about a minute and a quarter that you're looking at for most drivers to try and navigate this track. This is Robert Plumley that we're watching right now, and he's also taken both of his laps. So most of these guys, Sam, are just trying to get a little bit of extra time in. Frisch, our points leader, is actually yet to get his 1st one in, but he should.
He's about to.
Yeah.
He's coming through the last turn.
Let's see what he's got under his belt for the 1st one. You can get off tracks kind of easily in some places. Oh, that's pole on the first asking.
Well, I think last 2 qualifying performances we've seen out of Frisch, he's done 1 lap and then spun on the 2nd lap. Hey, look who's shown up. Mark Usher. Were you guys with us yesterday on the iRacing Esports Network for Batteries Not Included? This guy has been dominant over there in recent rounds. Does he have the same kind of performance under him here in the Lotus 79? We might be about to find out. Wow, it looks like he might. He goes to 3rd in the number 3 car.
Yeah, it is relatively tight up in the first 2 rows there. Less than a 10th between Frisch and Noalampi. And then Mark Usher is only just over a 10th back from the pole sitter as well. George Lambert, though, looking like he has a little bit of work to do. He's 2/10 back there in 4th, which is not drastic, but I wouldn't be surprised if over the course of the race he starts to fall back.
And for the first time in a few weeks, Gernot Frisch is actually going to have 2 clean laps here. And boy, he has a few tenths over the rest of the field right now as he improves his lap time. Oh, Anusha's not going to improve his lap time.
I think that's everybody then at that point. Yeah, I'm not seeing any cars out on track that can take that second lap. So, Sam, our grid is already set.
That's quite a large grid, so let's go ahead and have a quick read through it. The number 1, 2, and 3 cars are in numbers 1, 2, and 3 positions. Gernot Frisch, Juha Noralampi, and Markusha. George Lambert ruins the fun in 4th place, ahead of Alex Millwood and Matt Wood, our defending champion, all the way down in 6th. Adam Fraser, 7th in 7. Good job, Adam. The 3 cars in front of you got it on, though. Tommy Unhola, who finally got a bit of luck go his way last week out. He'll be starting 8th today, ahead of Sam Doby. And what a qualifying performance from Daniel Gutasso, because he has a number 25 car in this 25 car field, but put 10th on the grid.
Sergio Fernandez is going to start in 11th with Charles-Eric Lemelin in 12th. Then you've got John Stevens in a position you feel is appropriate, 13 and 13th. Peter Konecki in P14 with David Rofe starting 15th. Then you've got Robert Plumley, who we saw have some problems, starting 16th. Barry West will be in the 17th spot. Marco Sanfilippo starts 18th. Then it's Pablo Suarez in 19th. And rounding out our top 20 is Danilo Sanfilippo.
And rounding out the rest of the field is Drill Tar. Chennai Cristo Punkalo will be starting all the way down in 22nd place, so ahead of Dustin Herrada. Michael Schmidt and Melina Mann rounding out the 25 car field. Now, even though those bottom positions are not where you want to be, those drivers back there are still very talented and still have a chance to gain a lot of points here today, because this is a strong split. It is the top of 2 splits going on right now, but 25 cars means there's a lot of points up for grabs if you can find your way to the front of this 25 car field, and that's where Gernot Frisch currently sits, and that's where 24 drivers are going to want to be by the end of this race.
And a little story, I'm not surprised to see George Lambert out here, as I actually used to frequent a Formula One forum, news forum with him back in the day, and I remember him joining iRacing, so glad to see him reappear out here, the UK&I driver, trying some classic machinery.
All right, all of the field getting gridded up now with Gernot Frisch in pole position and Juha Noralampi 2nd place, and the lights off and away they go. A nice start by both drivers on the front row, but there's a big accident at the back of the field. Wow, a clean start for the leaders, but that looks ugly back there, Joe.
Yeah, it looks like Michael Schmidt was involved in it, Dustin Herroder, trying to figure out who exactly and how it started, but I'll get back to you on that.
Nice scrap going on for 2nd place right now. George Lambert trying to take it away from Noralampi. They almost tangle wheels going into the left-hander, and Noralampi's gonna edge out in 2nd place. Lambert's made up a position. He started 4th, he's got 3rd from Markusha, who's still right behind him in 4th there, but boy, Lambert is not giving up. He's now trying around the outside of Noralampi. That's not going to work, and in fact that might have backfired on him, because Usha's into 3rd place. Lambert is dropping, he may even lose 4th to Millwood.
It's hard to go side by side through here, and they're doing it on the first lap. Lambert's not going to survive it. Well, oh, he barely does. I can't believe he brought that car back on track, but he lost a ton of positions off in the grass trying to save that thing.
And as they come around to complete lap 1, they'll pass some parked cars in the pits of Dustin Herrada, and Sergio Fernandez has taken blame for the accident. Apparently he had some kind of hardware failure that kicked all that off.
Well, interesting that Sergio's taking blame. I thought it was Pablo Suarez I saw that did not get off the line. Maybe I'll have to go back and relook at it. Let's check the replay here, but I definitely saw a car not go when the green flag fell. You can see, yeah, everybody just has to try and avoid, but eventually there's some cars who are blind and they're just not going to see a car stationary or expect it.
It's a bit of a curved front straight as well, and also 25 cars. It's hard to see through all of them. I noticed Barry West also came into the pits for damage, as well as Michael Schmidt's cars parked down there.
Yeah, it's hard enough to get off the line in these cars, but to have that little bit of a curve and be uphill presents quite a bit of a challenge, Sam.
Good battle for fourth going on right now between Millward and Matt Wood. And Matt Wood is edging Millward out as they come around to complete lap 2. And here comes Adam Frazier, the joining the scrap.
Oh, deep on the brakes, though, for Unhola. He's going to try to take it through Paddock Hill Bend. They're going to go 3 wide, Sam, up into Druids. I'm not sure if this will work.
George Lambert is being very risky with these moves today, and he pulls it off.
Wow. Wow, that was brave stuff into there. I can't believe they all made it through there. Frazier was in the middle of that. Unhola didn't come out the victor. He's now down in 8th, but look at how it's stacking up the cars and it causes a spinner behind them. I think that's San Filippo.
Marco Sanfilippo, he started 18th, he was already up to 13th after the opening 2 laps. Unfortunately, that's not going to help him, and he drops back to 19th.
I think the reason, Sam, you're seeing so many drivers desperate here at the start is they know it's going to be very tough. So they're kind of taking any opportunity that they can get as we come back live here, even when it's in risky corners, because, I mean, there's very few corners that aren't risky around here.
No, but I mean, the riskiest driver of the start of this race has been George Lambert. He started 4th, he got up to 3rd, challenged for 2nd, and then just didn't want to give up that battle, rightfully so. I mean, if you have a chance to fight for 2nd place, fight for it. But backfired on him, he fell all the way back down to about 8th, but with that impressive 3-wide move coming up the hill last lap around, he's moved his way back up in the 6th. We'll see if he's able to break his way back up into the top 5. He's close behind Millward, who's close behind Wood and looking for 4th on Wood.
It's hard to break on the inside of Surtees and especially hard to get on the power. Look at them. They're in a drag race effectively up to Hawthorne. And this is one of the fastest sweepers we've got. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to hold it too wide through here. Well, they're going to try.
I wouldn't have been surprised if Lampert would have tried to make it 3 wide there, but they got through. Millward stays ahead of Wood. Lambert in 6th place will now try and find a way by the defending champion. Oh, who puts his wheels off.
And that was a big move for Millward because he's already streaking away. I think the cork in the bottle here is Wood because already Lambert is climbing all over his gearbox as we ride on board.
Meanwhile, you see at the top of your screen, Gurno Frisch continues to go purple and pull away from all of this fighting going on as Wood goes wide, and I think that's all Lambert needed. And in fact, a battle going on behind them too, because Frazier holding off Unhola and Sam Doby. So now 5 cars. Throw a blanket over them.
And, you know, as risky as we're saying that Lambert's been, he's racing very smart. He set up Wood to make him go defensive into Paddock Hill Bend and just pulled the over-under as we have an accident going on down here with Plumley.
Yeah, Robert Plumley running 19th place right now after this spin.
A little bit too much curb to the inside of Graham Hill Bend, and then he tried to get on the power, and unfortunately, the car just could not find the grip, probably with it bouncing around just slightly.
Yeah, he'll rejoin with 1 car left behind him on the lead lap. That is the 20 car of Drill Toe. Barry West, he had damage, but he has came back out on track in 21st place, 3 laps down. The 4 drivers out of the race are Sergio Fernandez, Pablo Suarez, Dustin Herrera, and Michael Schmidt.
Watching Nora Lompe, who unfortunately doesn't seem to have much of an answer to Friesch right now. He's dropped back to about 2.2 seconds. That's going to be hard to make up unless they start to hit some traffic that could maybe give them an opportunity to gain a few seconds back here.
Yeah, you definitely can gain and lose time easily on your competitors here, but as you mentioned, Joe, it's the tricky part is passing them, although we've seen some drivers not have too much of a trouble attempting that kind of stuff today, but it's still the early stages of a race. There's not that many marbles and dust off of a racing line. iRacing does simulate that stuff though, and sure enough, I'm already starting to see some patches of grass being brought out onto the racetrack.
Well, look at this battle we've got on screen though. This is Dobie challenging Unhola down here in the mid-pack for 8th. And he's been right on top of him. I'm actually really impressed that he's been able to stay as close as he has. These cars give off a pretty big wake. So being close behind on all these fast corners shows a lot of mechanical grip in the setup for Dobie.
Gets right back up underneath him. And I have a feeling, Trevor, I mean, these open setups for this series, that's something you probably want to dial in for your car for this track. There's not really a whole lot to be gained by being fast in a straight line around here.
Yeah, no, you definitely want to be fast in the corners as Lemelin gets hit. That was Gattuso who ran into him. And Surtees.
Yep, so Lemelin spun. It was a solo spin, a big slide. He probably would have saved it if he hadn't had a whole pack of cars behind him, and unfortunately Gattuso was the driver with nowhere to go.
Stevens and Danilo Sanfilippo really lucked out because they were close behind. You know, watch from Gattuso's view. Didn't have much of a chance to try and react here. And he thought he had the right way, but unfortunately the car just veered back to the apex at the last second. That's really easy to do, Sam, especially in a corner like Surtees. As we come back to this battle of these 3, I think it might erupt here up in the Patico Bend. That's Sanfilippo ducking to the inside. Danilo holds on for now. But that's a curved braking zone, and when you're really pushing these cars, they can get pretty unsteady as you try to take it in deep and trail brake down into that corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I think we need to make a note of for viewers who haven't watched the race here at Brands Hatch before, where you see these drivers kind of almost abusing the track runoff limits on the exit of these corners where there's a lot of green astroturf that kind of matches the grass color. They can get away with that. That doesn't count as an incident point. That's why you see the drivers doing it lap after lap. Meanwhile, a great battle going on here. Danilo Sanfilippo by Gattuso. Gattuso goes off. Roth going by. And now, Joe.
Punakolu, I think, is his name. Yeah, once the door was opened by John Stevens, who went around the outside of Hawthorne, he was offline, and Gattuso has all that damage on his front wing, so he's lacking downforce, he's lacking straight line speed. It was just, he got, I guess in NASCAR you call it freight trained, just as cars streamed by once he was offline.
Tell you what, considering Gattuso has a number 25 car though, and so he, in theory, has well, he does have a lower I rating than the rest of the field, but he's still up there in 15th place, and the beaten battered car are putting up a pretty good fight. Unfortunately, the handling has gone away a little bit. Yeah, we'll see if Marco Sanfilippo gets by him here. Yeah,
but the problem is he started this race in 10th, so he's clearly got pace, and sometimes that happens in I rating versus actual pace. So he probably wants a little bit of a better result, and he's going to have to go into damage limitation at this point. He's got to change his mindset. Of
course, one nice thing about driving a car like that around each lap is you get to learn the drive a little bit better each time you go around, you know. Oh, the car likes to do this in this turn now. Okay, I'll make sure I do this.
I wouldn't really consider that fun, though. I guess it depends on your definition of fun. Tell you what, though, Unhola and Dobie have not gotten away from each other. Remember that battle for 8th we were talking about? Dobie's still right behind him, and they're chasing Adam Frazier for 7th, too, Sam. So if Frazier slows up even a little bit, we could get a fierce battle here.
Yeah, nice little battle coming to a head as they work their way around lap 10 of 37 here at the Brands Hatch circuit. Ooh, big moment from Marco Sanfilippo. He saved it though, kept it on course, no harm, no foul.
He's down currently in 16th position, actually gaining on the driver we were talking about before, Gattuso. Gattuso looks like he's just a sitting duck at this point. He's found a little bit of pace. He's back down to 116s last time by, but he was in the 118s for a while.
There's been lots of action going on mid-pack all race long, and we'll come back to this battle in just a moment. But let's give a shout-out to our drivers heading the field right now, because we haven't seen a whole lot of them. Gurno Frisch has pulled out 2.5 seconds over second-place driver, Juha Noralampi. Juha had to fight a little bit for that position early on. As was the case for Mark Usher in 3rd place, he had to fight to get that position back early on, but he's riding well there in 3rd in his Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship debut. And 2nd and 3rd place, by the way, not too far away from each other, so we'll see if Usher is able to get a sniff at Noralampi later on in this event.
Yeah, but trying to pass Noralampi is difficult in normal circumstances, but when you have a track like this where you've got very few good opportunities, I think that number 3 car has got his work cut out for him. Mark's going to have to push hard, especially as far back as we're seeing him sit right now.
Well, this is his first race in the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship, Joe. He doesn't know Noralampi is hard to pass.
It's amazing what one can do when one doesn't know what one can't do, right?
Yeah, something like that. Let's see. This is the right country to be using that kind of language. All right, lap number 12. Unhola ahead of Dobie for 8th place. Still the best battle on the racetrack. And it's hard to say, all right, they're coming up to an overtaking zone. Let's pick up this battle again, Joe, because there's not really an overtaking zone around here. And it's also hard to say, hey, Dobie's closed in on Unhola, let's pick up this battle again, because he's been riding on his gearbox pretty much the last 10 laps.
Well, and that's exactly what Dobie needs to do. Now, it is a little bit dangerous because we saw earlier with Gattuso.
So we just saw a pass on the screen there.
With Gattuso himself. Yeah. The point being that Gattuso was riding closely behind the car ahead, and you saw he caught damage because he couldn't react. Well, that's what Dobie runs the danger of right here if an error happens with Unhola. But that's also what he wants, because that's really your best opportunity to make those passes. He's got to really shake Unhola. He's got to pressurize him until Tommy makes his own mistake, and that can open the door for him to get by. Unless he gets a phenomenal run out of a corner, Sam's probably not really going to have a great opportunity to try to pass him.
Yeah, so what we were watching on screen there was Gattuso actually losing the position to Marco Sanfilippo, so he's now dropped back to 16th, and Molina Man might soon get by. They're quite close on track together there. Just looking down the order, one of the biggest movers we've had in the field so far today has been Chinmay, and this doesn't surprise me too much given the fact he's got a very high I rating, has a number 6 car that for whatever reason did appalling in qualifying. It started all the way back in 22nd. I don't know if he hasn't had practice or not entirely familiar with this car or track, but he's working his way the right direction so far, 22nd up to 14th.
And, well, part of that might be if he is new to the car. Since it is open setup, you have to consider qualifying setup, and that can make a difference on what you can get out of it. It sometimes is simple in some cars and just lowering the fuel, but not always the case, especially with this one where it has ground effects that you want to try and get the car as close to the ground as possible. Meanwhile, I think John Stevens is rocking up to another victim here.
John Stevens running in 11th position right now. That's Peter Koneski in front of him. Two of our drivers involved in the team championship battle here. We got Brabham leading the Ferrari around.
Yeah,
that's that runoff area I was talking about earlier.
Absolutely. And Peter is a teammate with the driver in first place right now, Gernot Frisch. That's the other Brabham out here today. So they are certainly going to score some decent points, although Peter's got to hustle a little bit and maybe try and get up to the likes of Doby and Uhola, get a few more points, because that will certainly help them more.
Yeah, Ferrari also have Adam Fraser currently running in 7th. He's had a very quiet race so far.
Ooh, Stevens getting right on top of him, taking a lot of curb to the inside there through Sheen. You got to be careful of that with this car. Sometimes it's not always great on some curbs. And the reason that happens comes back to those ground effects I was talking about, Sam. As soon as you lift the car up, it starts to lose that downforce. So you really want to try and ride flat curbs way to the outside for Koneski. That's going to hand it over easily to Stevens.
Just saw a change for 14th place. Marco Sanfilippo got by Chinmay, and it got very close on the front straight. There was almost contact between them. It almost looked like Chinmay was yielding the spot, and Marco wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I think Chinmay got a bad exit out of the final corner, and Marco was looking for the draft here. Yeah, you see, and suddenly has to pull out at the last second. Woo! The Italian lives to fight another day and takes 14th place in the process. Ooh, Juha's starting to respond to Gernot, though.
Mark Usha has been unable to keep up with him because I think Usha was a little bit closer to Nora Lumpy a little while ago, but Nora Lumpy, as you mentioned, took half a second out of Frisch's lead last lap. And one thing we haven't mentioned, Joe, but will become a factor before the end of this race, lap traffic. That's fun around here, isn't it?
Yeah, you really need drivers to cooperate with you when there's lap traffic around here, because just like there's few opportunities to pass when you're fighting for position, there's few good opportunities when trying to overtake drivers who you're trying to lap as well. You need them to kind of pull over or give you the racing line, and especially on the few long straights that we have, just kind of let you by when it's opportunistic so that you don't slow both of you down. It all depends on what kind of mood the lap traffic is in. And they're not obligated. This is not like modern Formula One rules, Sam, where they have to get out of the way within a certain amount of corners. It is informational only.
Well, let's go. Oh, well, this has been going on all race. I don't know about the change positions right now. So let's go ahead and give our Dory award, Joe, to the first car that will see the leaders come up to pit a lap down. Running 3 laps down, Barry Weston, he's number 15, Ligier.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised to see this much damage on Barry's car. He's been performing a lot better than this in recent times. So this is not representative of the kind of pace that Barry has in the Lotus 79. At this point, he's just probably trying to gain some safety rating back and maybe get a few points along the way.
But not only points for himself, Joe, but points for Ligier. Remember, we took a look at the championship standings early on. They weren't too far out of the picture. And George Lambert, after his frantic start, has found himself settled in 5th position. Although not for much longer, maybe. Matt Wood isn't too far behind him.
Yeah, less than a second back. And once you get that close, the driver ahead needs to start looking in their mirrors and paying attention to where they are gaining on them so that they can kind of size up what's going on in the future potentially if they go on the attack. Now, I think I have to eat my words a little bit, Sam. I said that attrition would play a role today, and it did at the very start, but that's because we had a huge accident with a number of cars. But really, since then, we haven't seen much in the way of accidents, and right as I say that, Marco Sanfilippo has one himself.
Yeah, I had a feeling this time was coming, unfortunately. This is a tricky track, and especially in the virtual racing world, when you start doing too many laps on the same track, you can kind of fall into rhythm that you don't want to fall into. Now, was Marco able to save his car? Yes, he was.
Beautiful save out there in the grass, kept it out of the wall, and that was that curb on the inside of Sheen. He clipped way too much of it. It bounced the car around and started to lose it coming off the corner. So that gave it right back to Chinmay, and he's down to 15th again.
Boy, it looks like Prix has had a horrible lap. Nora Lampe has taken a whole second out of him.
Yeah, 114. Let me go back and look and see where the error happened.
So, Nora Lampe now less than a second behind Prix. Mark Usher is still 3 seconds down the road. We could have a battle for the lead shaping up very shortly, though. Now, you do notice some cloud covers moved over.
Yeah, it's been cooling the track, and we were kind of debating behind the scenes if the changing temperatures messed him up. I don't think that was it. I think he pushed the car a little bit wide out of Sheen. He had to catch it, and that's what lost him the most time and allowed Juha to really gain on him. He did a beautiful job saving the car out of there because it was almost sideways, but the damage is done because you can see from onboard the Preacher now, he's got him within his sights.
Nora Lampe has won Nürburgring this season. He won 7 out of the 12 races last season around, something Gernot Prix is on track to do this year around. We're halfway through this race. Prix has got his act back together, and he pulls out another 4 tenths again on Nora Lampe. But can he keep that pace up? Obviously, he's probably giving it 110% right now to just make sure he can open that gap back up.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that Gernot is pushing hard at this point. But there's a danger in doing that. You can do what we call overdrive the car, where if you push harder and harder to try and make time, you can make more mistakes like we saw that Gernot did, and that cost you time instead of saving you time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we catch maybe 1 or 2 from Gernot if he keeps trying to do this, but it depends on how he's running today. We've already seen 1 error, and that doesn't bode well for the future.
Fortunately, Gernot is quite experienced with this car. Bit of an understatement there. Let's take a look at our weather conditions here, Joe, and see what this cloud cover has actually done to this track.
Well, it's dropped at about 10 degrees. It was up in the 90s at the start of this race. It's now 78 degrees out there, and that's in Fahrenheit. I'd have to do some quick math to figure out what the Celsius is. There is some wind, though, and that could be messing up the drivers as well. Oh, wow, Usher just set the fastest lap behind him now. Usher, excuse me. But the setup of these cars are a little bit susceptible to temperature changes. So it does cause you to have to adjust your line and your braking points somewhat.
Yeah, talk about Usher hasn't quite had the pace during the first half of the race of Prix and Nora Lampe, but he's been able to hang with them relatively, especially compared to the rest of the field. These top 3 have put about 10 seconds or more on 4th on back.
Yeah, and that would be the likes of Millward back there in 4th. Lambert is not too far behind him. He's in 5th place. And then Matt Wood is very close behind Lambert. So 4th, 5th, and 6th still have to worry about things because they could change positions.
You see Lambert with Wood quite close behind him. Unhola still has Dobie quite close behind him. Seems to be a theme here at Brands Hatch right now. A lot of cars running nose to tail. We saw at the start of the race that resulted in a lot of passes for position as Usher resets the fastest lap of the race. but here in the middle of a race, they kind of just seem content to run like that right now.
Oh, that was a big error as we rode on board with Wood. You could see all the time it cost him on Lambert. That is another one of those very difficult braking zones into Paddock Hill Bend, Sam. It's curved, and then the track completely drops away from you. So if you miss your brake marker, well, it's very difficult to try and recollect it. You can see how wide it sent that. Oh, the lap traffic not helping.
I'm sure that wasn't intentional, but that's going to help Barry West's teammate, George Lambert, pull away from that one.
And the words of Monty Python, appropriate for a British track. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, Sam.
Sure, we'll go along with that. No, I think that joke's expired and gone to meet its maker. Alright, good battle for 11th going on right now. Also a good one for our 17th place. Gutasso has been falling back down the order as Usha resets the fastest lap. I'm wondering, Joe, as we keep an eye on this battle for 11th, if Usha hasn't been showing us what he's had the first half of the race, if he's been saving his equipment for the second half.
Well, yes and no. You do have to take care of the tires somewhat. Most of the drivers tell me, because I haven't done long races in this car, unfortunately, that they don't, the tires don't really do too badly over the course of a whole race. You can get away with abusing them a little bit. The main thing is just not overheating them. And the temperatures to me say that that's not really an issue. I suspect this is more Usher getting his sea legs in this car. And now that he's kind of figured out how it goes, he's a threat.
But your eyes do not deceive you. The sun is out in England. And that could affect the track temperature again. We'll wait and see maybe if this has been temperature related. If Usha will start to fall away again now that the track's warmed up.
And one car I want to mention is the number 17. We've been keeping an eye on him. He's made some mistakes, but Sanfilippo's not only gotten back past Chinmay, but Molina Mann as well, and is chasing down Danilo Sanfilippo at this point. So Marco having a nice little recovery.
Yeah, so the battle for 17th is one to keep an eye on for the wrong reason for Gutasso, because he's kind of been falling back ever since he picked up that damage. This might be the last spot he would lose, but that being said, he'd still like to try and keep it, I'm sure. Robert Plumley is currently the last car on the lead lap there in 18th.
He won't want to be plumb last anymore. He gets a good run, though, coming off the final corner. And I think this is good night for Gattuso, unfortunately. He's going to fight it. Like you said, he's got the inside, but just no grip with all that damage that easily goes to Plumley.
In fact, Gutasso has a whole lap over Drill Toe, who is the next car behind him for position in 19th.
We keep taking a glance at Dobie and Unhola because they're still just nose to tail around this track, and they got lap traffic in front of them now.
Nora Lumpy's ran wide, and Usha is up into second place. Nora Lumpy lost a bit of time behind the lap car of Drill Toe, and he just made a mistake, and it's cost him silver. At least for now, he's still right behind Usha as he rejoins the circuit, but let's see what happens here.
He was very lucky that there was some of that paved runoff right there on the outside of Surtees. It kept him from losing a lot more time, because if he was in the grass, you have a head of steam coming into there, and he would have been sailing off and had to refine the track, because that's the short Indy course that he would have been going into.
And as they cross the line, there's 12 laps left to go. Now, I'm sure Usha would have lost a bit of time trying to avoid Nora Lumpy when he came back on the track. Actually, he runs a very similar lap time to Frisch. So these two are about 3 seconds back of Gernot Frisch now. Now, do either of them have anything left, or is their main battle with each other now, the battle for the silver?
Well, it's hard to say. It depends on how Usher really compares in terms with Gurno now that he's freed from behind Juha. We're going to have to kind of wait and see. He's got very few laps to try and do it. And honestly, I'm pretty certain that Gurno is not sitting idly and managing the gap. I think he's pushing hard just in case of any traffic or another error, because we saw how quickly these gaps can shrink just with the smallest of mistakes.
No, I almost wouldn't be surprised if what Marcusha really needs is a cloud. He was going so much quicker, it seemed, relatively earlier on when there was some overcast skies ahead. It would be interesting to see if we could get our camera guy, Dougie Beard, to set up a sun camera for us, show us when it's going in and out of clouds. Oh, there we go. Usha, fastest lap of the race, took 3/10 out of Prix.
And interestingly, the track temperature is back up, though. It's up to 88, so I'm not sure that it's down to temperature. I think I still insist that Mark has simply figured out this car now and is starting to really find his pace out here.
The other thing is, it's not unusual as the race goes on for us to see more purple and purple lap times as best laps of a race being set, because of these cars handle a lot better as the fuel burns off. The tyre wear isn't too bad on these cars. Boy, this battle for 8th, I mean, I know it's been on all race long, but Sam Dobie's starting to get a bit aggressive now. He's starting to try different lines, take a look at Unhola. He realises if something's going to happen, it's got to happen in about the next 10 minutes.
Well, Tommy's showing this cool Finnish blood, too, because he's been withstanding this pressure, like you said, all race long. I'm really impressed. A lesser driver would have made a critical error by this point, and Sam Dobie himself makes an error just trying to poke and prod. And I wonder if we're going to see more of those, because Sam might be getting a little bit desperate at this point. He might be trying some different things just because he's running out of laps, and he's got to try something if he wants to get this position away.
Ten laps left to go here at Brands Hatch for round 7 of the Classic Team Championship next week.
And look, sorry to interrupt, but great example right here. Pushing too hard. Oh, and a problem with man.
Bit of a spin, comes back out on course.
Michigander. Let's see, where has this happened here? Just penultimate corner. Oh, woof. That was brave to back up across the course like that. That could have gone very wrong.
Fortunately, it didn't. I'm kind of glad you brought that all up, though, Joe, because I actually had to check my stats to see where we were at next week. It's older. Great battle for 11th going on. Peter Koneski and David Roth side by side through one of the fastest turns on the track, and Roth is going to pull it off.
Brave stuff. Let's watch the replay here, see how this got set up. But just a good run down Pilgrim's Drop, a little bit in the slipstream, and David, you could see sizing him up, trying to set him up for the corner, and eventually, as soon as he gets the nose in, I mean, that's about it, and Koneski knew it. He tries to fight back a little bit, but it's single file through the next corner.
Alright, Joe, it's safe to say now that this has been a very clean race. I know we've still got 9 laps left to go and everyone could wreck, but still, for 3/4 of a race, it has been a very clean race. So we can say that. And credit to these drivers for putting on some great racing. Now, our race leader is actually stuck behind a lap car battle, and this is getting very sketchy. They almost went 3 wide between Robert Plumley and Melina Mann battling for position. Gurno Frisch saying, I need to get out of here because Marcus and Johan Noralampi are not too far behind me.
That's a perfect illustration of why I said that Gurno wanted to push before, because these things can happen that you just don't have control of, and you kind of just got to deal with it. Usher has caught up quite a bit, but because he had pulled up that 2.5 second gap, Frisch had a little bit of leeway, and now he's got cars between them as well to try and create a buffer.
Well, Plumley and Mann were battling when Frisch caught them. Usher has been lucky in that he's caught them one at a time. Nora Lampe also looks like will get them one at a time, and then those guys will rejoin their battle for 16th place going on in just a couple of moments. But all of this has really closed the gap between Frisch and Usher. Last lap around, it was 1.9 seconds, and as they come across the line this time around, it's 0.8. So, are we going to see Frisch do what he's done before, where he puts in a really quick lap just to cover off that gap? Or can Usher keep that gap where it is?
I hope that Mark shows up some more, because I was really impressed with how aggressive he was through that traffic. He made some risky moves, but again, sometimes you have to take those risks, and this is one of those moments where he knows that he's close to Gurno. He knows that he can start putting more pressure on him if he stays close, as we watch Nora Lampe now get by those lapped cars. And you could see the difference. Nora Lampe fell way back. He was a lot closer than this before. Usher did not. He is right on top of Gurno.
Yeah, Nora Lampe definitely had a hard time getting by those two. So Melina Mann and Robert Plumley running 16th and 17th will resume their battle. And the leaders will resume their battle. They're coming to 6 laps left to go. They only got one lap car it looks like they're going to catch, and there you see that in front of him. That's Tim Nye in the number 6. He kind of won't be able to commentate this race. I'm sure. I don't know if he would have more fun time pronouncing this driver's name or getting all the colours on his car correct.
And Chinmai also had a big bobble there coming out of Paddock Bend, which is the other danger with lap traffic. If they make an error right in front of you, then it's suddenly dodgem cars, and you got to try and find your way around a spinner. So I think Gurno's not going to waste a lot of time. There you go, right into Surtees, decisive move, and he's through.
One car by Tim Nye. Usher should be able to get by him on the straight here. We will use a bit of a slipstream, give him a bit of top-end speed advantage, hitting about 150 miles an hour by the time they get to the bottom of the hill, and it definitely helped. Usher is very close to Frisch now as they're coming to 5 laps left to go.
Now the question is, how does he try and get by? Because now that he's caught him, he's got to try and overtake. And look at him just gain everywhere. That's another 10th just through those couple corners. He's only 3/10 back behind him.
Well, during yesterday's batteries not included race in the 2009 Williams Formula One cars, Mark Usher got off to a bad start, and he was trying to get the lead back. He made a bit of an overly aggressive move at the Motegi circuit heading into the last chicane. It resulted in a spin. And I've got to be honest, I can't tell you how representative that is of how aggressive he normally is with passing other cars, because normally in batteries not included, he doesn't have to pass other cars. He qualifies on pole and he goes on and wins the thing. So this is going to be a learning experience for all of us here. One thing's for sure, I think he is going to have to be aggressive, because 4 laps, it's going to go by in 5 minutes here. There's not any overtaking opportunities that are going to offer themselves to you. Gurno Frisch ain't going to offer you a spot or a mistake. He's too good for that kind of stuff, or at least most of the time. You got to do something here.
Well, and Mark's definitely being aggressive with his own car. When we were riding on board through Druids, on the exit, he had to catch it just going a little bit wide onto the curbs. And that cost him a little bit of time. You can see he's dropped back slightly as we get a little bit more cloud cover once again, and the temperatures are dropping. We'll see if it does help him or not. Let's see how he is out of Druids this second time through. A lot smoother this time.
Cars are handling better than they will have all race. No lap traffic to deal with. Changing track conditions though with the cloud cover. Who will that benefit? We don't have a lot of time left to find out. 3 laps to go when they come back around to the line, and these laps click off in a hurry.
And back here, definitely not a place where you tend to see passes through Dingledale, through Sheen, and these corners, unless someone makes a huge mistake. This corner, sometimes you can have a chance to have a go at someone. Up towards Clark Curve, every once in a while, since it's a bit of a straight, you can maybe get a pass done, but it's very difficult to do. Haddock Hill Bend, sometimes you can see drivers make a pass in here, not from as far back as we see Usher here right now. He's got to be a lot closer for that. Druids, really your best opportunity. This hairpin that they're coming up to, but it's late braking because the car compresses and it's uphill into this corner, so it's very short braking zone, Sam.
Nora Lampy, fastest lap of the race, back there in 3rd, still within striking range of anything happens in front of him. A few good battles left on the track in the closing laps. 3-car fight for 15th place, a lap down. The battle for 8th that's been going on all race is still going on. That's unchanged. And John Stevens has crashed. John Stevens, running in 10th place, has put it in the wall.
Oh, right at the end. And it's another driver falling victim to Sheen. Watch from on board. You get a good sense of how blind that crest is. You come up to it and you really just kind of have to know where it is to turn in the car. Loses grip and there's no tires there, so it's straight into the Armco, and he hit hard. Hard enough he's in the pits now.
It's definitely not going to help Ferrari out in the championship battle. Talk about into the pits. Susha's coming in. Did he not have enough fuel to make it all the way? But Mark Usher into the pits.
Checking to see. I don't see any contact or any spins or anything. So, yeah, this has got to be fuel. He's in and he's out. That is a costly error.
Bit of an experience with the car, perhaps.
It very well could be.
So Millwood moves up into a podium spot. Everyone behind, well, Usher comes back out in 6th place, so the only other 2 drivers to benefit are George Lambert and Matt Wood.
So minimal damage, but I'm sure he would have liked a podium or even a shot at the win. And God, this is a sigh of relief for the #1 car. Prix has nobody behind him now. Nora Lampy 3 seconds back. He really could just cruise his way to victory at this point.
And he's about to come start the final lap. But I'll tell you this much, it's a shame the battle for 14th is a lap down, because there's been a heck of a little scrap going on back there. Robert Plumley just made a nice move for Trinidad to get that position. Actually, let's keep half an eye on this, because if this ends south, the 2 cars right behind him are Alex Millwood and George Lambert. They go into the first corner. I mean, these guys have been going like this the last few laps. It's been quite fun to watch.
Yeah, that's Man in the red and white car trying to get past the multicolored car of Chinmay. They just can't quite find an opening. Oh, yeah, and you can see that this is getting desperate, just bobbing back and forth.
Hopefully they'll keep it clean. Alright, let's head back up to Gurno Frisch. Because, well, we mentioned last season, Juha Nora Lampy. What she's got is one more time.
Yeah, Man got the pass done. Now we can go.
Fun out there. Here we go. Alright, in Frisch. Last season, Nora Lampy won 7 out of the 12 races. Well, we're at round 7 right now. Gurno Frisch has won 5 out of the 7 so far this season. Another victory here today at Brands Hatch. And Wood's in trouble. Wood from 5th place.
And this actually happened because of Melina Mann making a spin and trying to get out of the way. Wood, unfortunately, tried to avoid the spinning car and just couldn't do it.
So that'll give Mark Usher 5th place.
This battle is going to go all the way to the line. Fraser's going to lead Unhola, who managed to hold off Dobie the entire race, Sam. That is the drive of the race for me.
Alright, let's get one last look at what happened to Wood here.
He's out of sheen. Man spins the car, then tries to do what they think is the right thing and pull it off the track. But in doing so, Wood is going the same direction. You'll see here, and they just slam together. Oh. You can see how quickly Wood is coming up. He actually flies into the air because they hit so hard.
Man's defense looked like they were still trying to recover the car. I'm not sure how much control they had at that point.
And it seems like Wood wouldn't be the only one upset with Man in the chat. Gurno expressing some dissatisfaction with Molina.
Alright, well, we're going to take a quick break here on GSRC. We'll be back for a full race rundown as well as drive interviews. Don't go away. Welcome back to Brands Hatch, where we just witnessed round 7 of a Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship here. At the end of the day, the winner was Gurno Frisch. He led from flag to flag, but definitely had a lot of pressure from behind at times. At the end of the day, though, he still brought home the win by over 2 seconds over Johan Orlampi. Behind him in third place was Alex Millwood, very closely followed across the line by George Lambert, who definitely had an exciting start to the race. Mark Usher, not enough fuel to make it to the end. Comes home in 5th position ahead of Matt Wood, who was very frustrated with an incident regarding lap traffic on the final lap, which relegated him to 6th. Adam Fraser finishes 7th, started 7th in the number 7. Tommy Inhola, second week for him. He's had a solid top 10 performance, comes home in 8th place ahead of Sam Doby. David Roche rounds out the top 10.
Danilo Sanfilippo finishes in 11th, having started 20th. Great climb. Marco as well got a few positions going from 18th to 12th. Peter Koneski finishes in 13th here today with Robert Plumley winding up P14. The first car a lap down. Chinmay Christo Punukolu finishes in 15th with Melina Mann, causing a little bit of debate post-race, unfortunately. Finishes 16th. Daniel Gattuso, with all of his damage, unfortunately has to settle for 17th, despite qualifying 10th. Gilles Taux finishes 3 laps down in 18th, with John Stevens wrecking out at the very end of the race. 19th, our first DNF. Barry West had to get a lot of repairs, but kept going, finishes 20th. Charles Eric Limelin 21st, Sergio Fernandez 22nd, Pablo Suarez 23rd, Dustin Hiroda 24th, and Michael Schmidt, the last of the cars. 4 of the last of those drivers wrecked on the first lap and could not make it back out to the track.
All right, well, we've got some different drivers with different stories to tell for today. Gernot Frisch, first off, your 5th win in 7 races. Congratulations.
Hi, Sam. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm quite happy about that because that was a really, really tough race. Yeah, quite stressful, especially in the end.
Yeah, lap traffic seemed to mix it up, not only for you, but drivers throughout the field. You know, some drivers were hurt by lap traffic, some drivers were helped by lap traffic. For you, it wasn't too favourable. Towards the end of a race, when Mark Usher caught you, how difficult would have it been for you to have held on to that win had Usher not run out of fuel?
It's always hard to say. I think was running pretty much consistent lap times, so yeah, it's really hard to overtake on this track. So yeah, in theory, I should have been able to stay ahead, but it's really hard to say because with that much pressure, it's so easy to make a mistake here. And I'm sure that was the plan of Mark to put me under pressure and hope for a mistake. On the other hand, he probably knew that he would be running out of fuel. So yeah, he had an easy time pushing because he knew he would fall back later on.
How was the track today? I mean, the Lotus 79 cars raced here in real life back in 1978. It was, a driver's favourite track back then, and lots of people still love it today. Is this car fun to drive around here?
Definitely, yes. It's one of the best tracks because it has lots of fast sweeping corners. That's exactly what this car likes. And yeah, it's a favourite of every driver in this series, I think. The only downside is that it's really tricky track. You can use much more of the track than you initially think. And it's also very easy to crash out because once you catch the grass, you're in real trouble.
Unfortunately, you kept it clean for the most part today. So you've got 5 wins in 7 races now. So your next goal, I guess, should be 6 for 8, and that will come next week at Zolder.
Okay, it's Zolder. It's another technical track, so a track that I usually should be good at. Yeah, we'll see. You never know. The other guys are really quick. Juha, put a lot of pressure on me today, and so do the other top guys in this series. So yeah, let's see how things turn out next week.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Gernot, and have a good week.
Yeah, same for you. Thanks for having me. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, that was our race winner, Gernot Frisch, and a few positions down the order. Joe, you've called up with George.
George Lambert here, who was having a little bit of a chat with Alex Millward afterwards. George, sounds like you two were kind of both apologizing for the contact at the start.
Yeah, it's... I think with Alex, it was more my fault than his. I kind of got fed up with being stuck around the outside for the last 2 corners, so I just went for it. And unfortunately, fortunately we hit wheel to wheel, so I don't think either of us had damage. But yeah.
Now, talk about that 3 wide move that you had into Druids, because our jaws kind of hit the floor when that happened, but you made it stick.
Yeah. After the incident with me and Alex, I was a little bit upset. It's fair to say. So I wasn't taking any prisoners coming back through, getting back where I was supposed to. Yeah, I saw them. Someone slowed up in front of me, and someone went down the inside of him. So I just thought, slow it down, get a good exit, and it worked out.
With this being something of a home track, is it even more important for you to try and get a good finish here at the British circuits?
Not really. It was important to get a good finish this week, first because the race split, so bigger points for everyone. Also, it's like the only track I had a setup ready for before the season because I did the World Cup here, so I was expecting a good race.
All right. Well, one quick one before we let you go. I don't know how well you remember, but do you still hang around Race Fans, which used to be F1 Fanatic? I don't know if you remember me chatting with you on there.
Yeah, of course I do. We started out in iRacing together, didn't we? So it's good to see you here.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on a 4th place today, and good luck next week in Belgium.
Thank you.
That was George Lambert here today in 4th. Sam?
And in 8th position across the line, Tommy Unhola. Tommy, 2 weeks in a row now that you've had just clean and quiet races, but a lot of pressure from behind all race long.
Oh yes, it was a really fun race on that. I actually enjoy driving when someone is behind me or something, or close by. It's boring to drive alone. I don't really like to practice, and I wish always that races are like that.
I think we may have lost Sam. Might be having a coughing fit.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Sorry about that. All right. So, yeah, definitely an interesting race from your perspective. We were talking to Gurno about how how much fun it is to drive this car around this circuit. Would you echo that? Were you having a fun time out there?
Yeah, it works. I actually lost my wire also, but yeah, I enjoy really much this. It's one of my favorite tracks with this car. It really well, and it's really fun to drive, and well, it's really hard to pass, so you almost have to be much faster or need to make mistake or something. You can do it, but it's really hard, so it's easily trained like it was in few cases, but there was a really good 3-wide situation. Hopefully you got it. Lambert made a really good pass. Sorry, I can't pronounce your first name, but yeah, it was really good, and you can race on this track, and yeah, it was really fun today.
As you were just speaking, we actually saw a close-up of where you were sitting doing that 3-wide pass down in Droids. All right, Tommy, we look forward to hopefully seeing you back at Zolder. Hopefully you can continue this the top 10 pattern you've got going on right now.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't think I have driven this car there, but I think it can be fun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, that was Tommy and Hola. One last driver left to talk to. Drew, you've got a quick interview here with Barry White.
Yep, we've got Barry with us, who unfortunately had to settle for 20th today. Barry, I'm sure you've heard us mention on the broadcast before, but seems you've won the Dory Award today. You had a hard day out there.
It certainly was. It was no fun at all after I think it was a 5-minute pit stop. No, 3-minute pit stop, and then the car didn't feel that much better afterwards. But yeah, well over 2.5 seconds a lap slower. It was just a matter of trying to keep out of people's way and just finish the race. It was hard work, I can tell you.
Yeah, the car stopped on the grid there, unfortunately caught a number of drivers out with heavy damage. Have you ever experienced that before here in the 79s where we have the stalled car on the grid?
Yeah, a few times here, and also on the grid here, if you give it full throttle, the car slews to the left, so you have to be really ready to catch it. I've seen that happen a few times as well. The car in front, I could see what was happening. If I'd have just gone left, it's easy to say now in hindsight. I just watched the replay, but I think the car in front of me that stopped, and I was stopped just as I touched the car in front of me. So I was ready, and then all of a sudden I get clobbered from behind. Unfortunately, people behind much slower reactions and times than I had. Less time to react. So I think it was my teammate which put him out of the race. Unfortunately, Pablo. Yeah, so it was not a happy day, but 3 other good races in this week. Podium earlier on and a P6 yesterday, I think. So I've got good points at the weekend, but not today, certainly. And I had to recover from poor iRacing result last week and lost nearly 100, and just got them back with these 3 good races this week, and then I've lost them all again today. So it's just frustrating when it's not your making.
Well, hopefully you'll have some opportunities next week. Are you any good at sewing? Because you've got to thread the needle through a lot of chicanes.
Yeah, where are we next week?
Zolder.
Oh, Zolder. Yeah, I like Zolder. Yeah, I do like Zolder. Yeah, not as much as I like this place, but yeah. It should be interesting. That's another interesting one, isn't it? Where if people try and overtake in the wrong place, it can cause mayhem.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll be able to make up for what was a miserable finish here today. Commiserations, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Thanks, Joe. Look forward to watching the replay.
It was Barry West, Sam, who definitely seemed in decent spirits despite having to gut through a tough one.
Well, unfortunately, that happens sometimes in racing. You get winners and you get drivers who have to wait until next week at Zolder. We'll be back with you next week at Zolder here on the GSRC for round number 8. We would like to thank all of the organisers and the competitors from the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship for choosing GSRC and putting on another great show. We would also like to thank all of the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts, and there you can see them all listed on your screen. Additional thanks goes out to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde to provide us with our great music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of our great work. Thanks to the team today, Joe, Umtred and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at GSRC_gram. All of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on your screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. And yes, that means get your steering wheel plugged in. This is not actually my fault. The computer's restarting to do updates. That's why that's going on in the background. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.